Brittany, and Sarah are all amazing coaches, so you hear about it all the time, and you probably hear about it a little too much. But I wanted to talk about why, and why it's so important in our business, why it's so important to hit every month in your own personal business, and then why it's important to help your coaches hit it, which is really key to always have that forward motion. So I like to have a roadmap before I begin. We're going to talk a little bit about first how you personally hit Success Club. So I'm going to give you some cold cut tips to exactly how I message people, exactly the list that I make, how I'm hitting over 10 every single month without fail since the beginning, and how leading by example can show your team, whether you have a team yet or you're hoping to get a team, why leading by example is the best way to help them hit Success Club. And then why it's so important to duplicate that, right? So we hear it all the time. There's all these contests for it. And why? Why is that sort of the benchmark for our business? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that too. Okay. So Success Club is sort of like a benchmark for growth in our business. And we're really lucky that we have it, right? Because we are our own entrepreneurs. I'm sure when you signed up, your coach told you, you get to start your own business from scratch, and it's health and fitness, and that's pretty much all they told you. And we're really lucky in the fact that in our business, in Beachbody, they've given us this point system in which we can monitor, is this working? Or is this not working? And most entrepreneurs, when they get started, they don't have that. They don't have a benchmark where they can say, okay, well, I put all my time and money into this, but is it really working? Because most businesses don't profit after a few years. Most franchises don't start to profit after a few years. So instead of Success Club being a scary thing for you guys, because it can kind of start to be a weight after a while, right? It can kind of start to be a kind of a bummer. It can be, oh my gosh, it's the 24th and I haven't hit Success Club yet. Or it's the 25th and I only have 4 points and I need one more point. And sometimes that 1 point can be a really, really big bummer for you. But I don't want you guys to look at it like that at all. I want you to kind of change your mentality on it. So I want you to think of Success Club as a question more than something to hit or something to bum yourself out over if you didn't hit it. So it can work both ways. It can work how if you don't hit Success Club, okay, then you need to go back, reevaluate your conversations, reevaluate who you talk to, reevaluate your social media outlets, and think, okay, if I didn't hit Success Club, then maybe what I'm doing either A, isn't working, B, isn't consistent enough, or C, maybe it is working and I just need to do more of it, right? So that's how I let maybe being close to Success Club but not quite hitting it be a positive thing for me in my business and not so much of a downer. Because as soon as we let it be that in our minds, and I know you guys have experienced this, as soon as you let it get in your mind like, oh, it's the 28th and I'm only at 4 right now, or I'm only at 0 right now, then all of a sudden we just kind of shut down, right? And we say to ourselves, oh my gosh, I haven't hit Success Club and I'm probably not going to hit it next month and I'm just going to, quit trying to hit Success Club, because that's not really a good thing. So we want it to ultimately push our business forward no matter what. And why is it kind of this benchmark? Well, for one, if you're hitting Success Club, I know as your coach that you're getting a consistent pipeline of customers / new coaches into your business. So no matter what, if you did the bare minimum and you gained 5 Success Club points every month, I know as your coach that you're still getting 3 new people into your business every single month, whether that's with a Shakeology HD order or with a challenge pack and a new program. That way I know that you're doing those right things over and over again. And slowly over time, the consistent pipeline of people starts to compound. And then your business starts to experience this sort of snowball effect where you start to not have to be able to invite as much. And it starts to kind of compound that success really quickly. It also means to me that you're consistently introducing the products, right? So the benchmark, or kind of like the meat and bones of our business, is our awesome programs and our supplements, right? Shakeology. And our job as coaches is to introduce it to people, to be a product of the product, and to help other people get on those products and use them. If you're hitting Success Club, that means to me as your coach, I know that you're doing that. I know that you're talking to people. So then another thing that you can say to yourself, okay, did I introduce these products in the right way? You know, was I having the right conversation, or was I kind of trepidatious about it and not really saying the right things, right? Because sometimes we can get into a conversation and be like, okay, well, I've reintroduced myself to this person and I made kind of a new connection, but I'm scared. I don't know what to say about Shakeology or what to say about a challenge group. I don't want this person to think that I'm introducing this because I think they need it. So that way we can kind of like tweak I did record you guys, just so you know. That way we can kind of tweak the way that I don't know why some people can't get on. I'm sorry. It's the same link as always. I don't know why. But we can kind of tweak our conversations that way. And then also, it's results driven. So I get a lot of people who sign up and much like me in the beginning, who say, you know what, I can't afford this challenge pack. I can't afford to be outputting $130 a month, so I need to bring money in. Me as a coach, if you hit Success Club every single month, I know you're hitting that dollar amount. I know you're hitting that $100 you need to make every month to be even with your Shakeology. I know that the higher your Success Club points get, the higher your paycheck is getting. So that way I can honestly say to people, okay, hit this benchmark and you will get this. And you can say that to people when you talk to them as well. And it's a really measurable way to look at that. And then also rewards, you guys. Duh, who doesn't love rewards? So Success Club equals trips, recognition, results, a chance to share the business. So I have a lot of new coaches who say to me, well, I'm not really successful yet, so I don't know how to share the business yet. Or I don't know how to say that coaching is cool. Or I don't know how to say that, I'm just getting my feet wet. But once you hit Success Club, that's super cool. Share that on your wall. Share when your coaches hit it on your wall. That, somebody who isn't in the Beachbody community, they don't know what Success Club means. They don't know what Success Club 5 and Success Club 10 is. All they know is that it's exciting. And that means that you're achieving things. You're helping people. So that's a really great way to get new coaches to share things, or for you as a new coach to share something like, hey, network, I just made my first benchmark in Beachbody. I'm killing it. That kind of just gets the excitement up in your network and lets people know that you are doing it. And then, like we said, forward financial movement. So as you progress, as you get your points up, then also your financial status will increase. Okay, so in the beginning of each month, when I start from scratch, it can kind of be deflating. You see these points go up and up and up, and you finally hit your goal, and then all of a sudden, the first hits and all your points are gone. You're like, man. I know that some of you feel that way, because I definitely do. So when that happens, what I do is I make 3 new lists for the month. I make my first list of all new people. So that can be people who have either messaged me, reached out to me from one of my posts, started kind of liking things on my page, friend requested me, started following me, somebody I found on a different social media network, somebody who filled out an application, all a list of new people. And I'm not super fancy. I'm looking for it, but I don't see it. I have one notebook that these are kind of like revolving lists that I have, and some of you really organized people will probably hate me for this, but I kind of just like flip pages and write new lists every new month, and sometimes even from week to week. So the second list that I make is the list that I have been talking to, right? So people who have given me objections, people who have said no, people who have said that they were going to order and didn't, people who have said next month. And then the third list I make of all current challengers. So everybody who is currently in an ongoing challenge group with me right now that I have not followed up with, that I have not talked to them about how they're liking Shakeology, etc. So that's 3 lists that I work from. And then next to those people on those lists, I kind of just write a little note. So I kind of write a little note that's like, if her name is Jennifer, then next to Jennifer, I'll say, new contact, liked a couple of my coaching posts, have yet to reach out. Or Amy, have been talking to for a while, was supposed to join a challenge last month, but her heater broke and couldn't afford it. Reach out to her on the 15th. Dates really help. It kind of reminds me of, when did I last contact this person? What do I need to say when I reach back out? Because sometimes you can forget, right? The month rolls by, new challengers come in, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot about Amy, whose heater broke last month. And those 3 lists just kind of like keep me in line. They help me from keeping people slip through the cracks. And then I kind of have a mentality switch. So the first messages for a new coach, or anybody really, I mean, myself included, can be kind of like a weight. Because when you reach out to someone, I mean, in the ideal situation, you reach out to someone, you want them to say, yeah, great, awesome, love a challenge, sign me up, I don't care how much it costs, because that happens all the time, right? So what helps me, because that rarely ever happens, is I make a mentality switch. So whenever I first invite somebody, I don't expect a yes at all. And it makes this kind of switch in my mind, and it takes the pressure off. Because as soon as there's pressure on, we kind of become like bumbling idiots, right? I'm like, Shakeology's cool, it tastes really good, and I like it. And we aren't cool, we aren't calm and collected, we don't say the things that we mean, and we often look back on those conversations and we're kind of like, what was I even doing? I know I have so many of those conversations because we put the pressure on ourselves, we put the pressure on with Success Club and all these things. I want you to take it off. So I want you to now think of your first invites as you're going for no, okay? You want to get as many no's as possible. And then what I want you to do after your first invite, after your first private message to this person, it doesn't have to be about Shakeology, it doesn't have to be about a challenge group, just making a contact. I want you to focus on being interested more than interesting. What I mean by that is our business is all about making connections. It's all about building relationships, finding out somebody's why, finding out, why they want to join a challenge, why they liked a coaching post, why would they like to be involved in something like Beachbody, and why would they want to be on your team? Because you're kind of interviewing these people as well, right? I don't want anybody to sell themselves short. If you are a brand new coach and you don't have a single coach on your team yet, don't sell yourself short, okay? You want to ultimately bring in people to your business that you want to work with too. So what I mean by be interested more than interesting, take a few seconds, go to their Facebook page, think about your relationship with this person. When was the last time you talked to them? Did you go to high school with them? What do you remember about them? Go to their Facebook page, spend 2 minutes scrolling down their feed. Did they just have a baby? Did they just get married? Did they just recently move? And try to make a connection there. Try to make a connection that, ultimately a different salesperson wouldn't make. My husband loves going to car dealerships and just looking around, which I hate because the car dealer salesman is always like coming up to you and talking to you about why you're there and why do you want to buy. I'm frozen. Am I unfrozen? Oh. Is always like kind of like harping on you, right? Like, oh, hey, why do you guys want to buy a car? I'm right here. Let me know if you need help. This car has this. These are heated seats. This one's $5,000 less. But the one time we went to a Jeep dealership, and the guy said nothing, absolutely nothing about the cars. Yeah, he was there, and yeah, he kind of walked around with us, but the entire time, and this was like a couple weeks ago, the entire time he said, oh, you guys are new in town, have you tried this restaurant, have you tried this bar, have you been on this hike, nothing about a car. At the end of the conversation, I said to Andrew, when we buy a car, we're going to buy a car from him. Because I love him. He didn't say one thing about the car. He cared about us. He asked how long we've been married. He asked questions about our life. You know, he tried to find out why we were looking for a car, not what car could he sell us. And the first thing that popped into my head was, wow, he'd be a great Beachbody coach. But kind of try and keep that in mind when you're talking to people. You know, you want people to feel comfortable with you. We want to be friends and confidants more than we want to sell them a challenge back. So I work from these lists, and I do 5 to 10 invites per day. That's me personally. Some people can only do 3. In the beginning of my business, I worked 3 different jobs, and I worked about 16 hours a day. So obviously, I didn't do 5 to 10. I did what I could do. I didn't have a set number in the beginning just because I was messaging people when I was, you know, on my way to work, which is really bad, or on my lunch break, or at midnight when I finally got home and I had a couple of minutes to myself. So, you know, if you do have a busy schedule, don't be too hard on yourself. But for me personally, I try to hit 10 every single day. And that means new invites, so people I haven't talked to before. And below, I don't know if you guys can see those, but these are just some examples of what I would say. So, for example, I would say, Maggie, okay, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I am sure you've seen all my posts about Beachbody coaching, and I cannot stop thinking about how good you would be at this. Crazy, I know. You already did Brazil butt lift, right? Now, that's something very direct, and sometimes I do that with people who I know fairly well. You know, I've seen that they have liked my stuff. Sometimes people just need that extended hand. You know, never be afraid. Never feel like you're being a pest or you're being too forward. Sometimes people need that, especially if you know people who are on the shy side, who you really think would be good. Another good list to make would be all the people that you want to have in your business, all the people that you think would be an excellent business partner, right? Then send a direct message like that one. Another example, hey girl, this might be totally random, but your picture of you and your son was so sweet, and I did a little timeline scrolling, haha. I'm always looking for more sweet, beautiful, uplifting women in my life, especially on my feed, smiley face. After all, that's the point. P.S. Where did you get those blue shoes in that pic? Hashtag recovering shoe addict. So that would be an example of me just reaching out and trying to make a connection and not saying something that's directly Beachbody related. Bonnie, when you've already reached out to your Facebook posts, people like and comment and show interest, how do you determine who to reach out to next? So I don't have something that's like, you know, like an exact science. I just reach out. I think that overthinking it, that's why my lists are not super fancy and not super complicated. I just write people's names down. If I see them and their name pops into my head, I write it down and reach out. I don't kind of have like a rhyme or reason. I think that overthinking it can kind of put like a damper on the conversation. So I would just make those 3 lists and work from there. Okay, step 2, and this is so key. I know we really, really hammer home consistency. I'm sure all of your coaches hammer this home, but this is where the magic happens. So I talked a little bit about taking that pressure off of the initial message, right? So taking that pressure off of, okay, I'm inviting someone and they're going to say yes. The magic happens after you invite that person. Something funny happens. They see your message, and maybe they won't respond. Maybe you can see that someone read it, and they don't respond to you. Or maybe they say, okay, thanks, not right now. But this is where the real stuff happens. You know, they start thinking about it. They think, oh, I wonder what Bonnie's doing. They go to your timeline, scroll down your timeline, and you want to reinforce those things that people are, the objections that they have, the reasons why they're not joining. You want to kind of combat those objections and reinforce those things on your timeline publicly for everybody to see. You know, I often hear, oh, I don't know what kind of content to post, or I can't even think of any posts right now. I'm having such writer's block. Make a list of every single objection that you got, or maybe an objection that you had when you first signed up. You know, what did you need to hear? What did you need to see in order to make the decision to say yes? Odds are the people in your market need to see that stuff too. So what we do when we make it public is we kind of ease that fear of, oh, she's just saying this to me in a message to get me to sign up, and that's not really the case, you know? Or, oh, she's just trying to sell me something, and she's not really being like a true, genuine person. So what we do by making it public on our social media platform is we reinforce the conversations that we're having. It makes your job in private messaging way easier. So all these pictures were kind of along the lines of this. I try to post every single day 3 to 5 times on whatever social media platform you select. Some people use Instagram a lot. Some people are really good at blogging. I just concentrate on Facebook. I concentrate on my private page and my business page, just because that is the one where I can commit to myself to be very consistent every single day. I know without a doubt, and my market knows without a doubt, that I will post 3 times a day on each platform. If I try to expand too far past that, and I try to add in, you know, my blog every day, and Pinterest every day, and all these other things, what happens is the one that you're consistent on starts to fall. I listened to this podcast, Entrepreneur on Fire, and he says 1 inch wide and 1 mile deep. We just said this on a different call that we were on. And what that means is, find the one thing that you can be really good at and take it really, really deep. And don't try to outsource all these things. Don't try to say, well, I want to blog and I want to pin all these things on Pinterest and I want to learn Instagram. Because all that takes time, right? That takes time out of your power hour or your messaging time. And you don't necessarily get to do the things that are business producing if you're trying to figure out all these different platforms. So these posts were directly related to a specific person that I was talking to. The one in the middle with me licking off of a plate, that was because a challenger who was thinking about joining for like 3 months was really afraid that she was going to be super hungry. So I did a post about how I'm not really hungry and it's a lot of food and the containers are deceiving. The one down on the lower right-hand side, well, right hand for me, but I don't know what it is for you guys, that was a post because somebody was really concerned about taking time away from their relationship with their spouse by adding Beachbody in. So I did a whole post about how it actually enhanced my marriage, and that kind of sealed the deal with those 2 people. You know, they needed to see that it wasn't just me giving them a spiel in a message, that these things were actually reflected in my life. And you know, you can't always be sure that people see them, but somebody at the right time will see them. I can't tell you how amazing and how important it is to be consistent and post these things in public on your Facebook page. All the objections that you get, you need to post about them. Don't post, oh, I got this objection, obviously, but think about the objection, you know. If the post up here with, I don't know if you guys can see it because it's kind of small, but it's like, it's me with a water bottle and then flexing right next to it. You can't see the words, but that post was because I had a challenger who was really concerned about getting too big on her program. And it was about, like, look, this is how my arm looks when it's at rest. This is how it looks when it's flexed. So, you know, and then she joined and she didn't get too big. So, you know, you kind of, you have to make it open so that it makes it easier for people. It makes the decision way easier. And then cross-posting. So I mentioned how I kind of, you know, you become an expert at one and not many. So I hear a lot of times, well, I want to do a business page, but I don't have a lot of content. I don't know how to come up with different content for each platform. All I do is repost content that I've already come up with. So I save every picture that I post to Facebook, in a file. Yes, business page means like page. I post every post in a file on my computer. And then periodically, maybe if I'm feeling not as motivated or not as, inspired that day, I will go to that folder and pick an old post and repost it. It's actually a really neat experiment, too, if you've been a coach for a while, to repost something that you did a year ago and watch how much more engagement you get now because you've been building up your consistency for so long. If you're a newer coach and you don't have that much built up, that many posts to choose from, what I would suggest is following maybe 10 of your favorite coaches that you found and pulling some of their posts and putting it in a folder. And don't directly copy, because that's really bad. You don't want to steal somebody else's post, but make it your own. Include a picture of yourself and use that for your sort of inspiration folder. And then cross-post these things on your selected, 2 social media platforms. Okay, so step 3. The follow-up is legit where all of my people say yes. So I rarely get somebody who I first initial invite and they say yes right away. That's a very rare situation, right? We have to build relationships and we have to follow up. If you guys aren't following up, you don't have a business. And I know that sometimes it can be scary, right? Like, well, this person already said no to me, so I don't want to bother them. Or I don't want to be that pest that keeps kind of like, re-messaging them. You're not. You're being the brave one. So a lot of times when we reach out to people, they're scared. They don't know what a challenge group is. They think they're going to have to be a part of like the Biggest Loser or something and carry a log up a 16-foot hill and then have everybody watch them do it. People think some really strange things about challenge groups and about like coaching, and also they think that they kind of like push you away with that initial no. And really, what they're asking you to do is give me more information. Keep me in your Rolodex of people. So there's a few tricks that I have. Like I said, that second list that I make is always follow-up. So I end up doing more follow-ups than I do initial invites most of the time. So after my initial invite, and we've talked for a while, we've built a relationship, I kind of ask for a follow-up. So if they've said no, if they've had something going on in their life where it's just not the right time for them, that's okay. I leave every conversation very nicely. I try to never leave a bad taste in anyone's mouth, because that's kind of our job as Beachbody coaches, to leave everybody with a little more sparkle than they had when we first came, right? So even if somebody says no and it's really frustrating, I still try to leave them with a very happy thing. And then I ask permission for a follow-up. So, for example, I would say something like, hey, Karen, would you mind if I followed up with you next month when things are a little bit better and you kind of have the funds to commit to a challenge? I think it would be really great for you. That way it just it keeps it in their mind, right? It says to them, okay, she's going to reach back out to me. And then it's not like I'm just constantly going down my list and re-messaging people. I've said to them, I'm going to reach back out to you. I think this will be great for you. Follow up several times. So people always ask me, how many times do you follow up? Well, I follow up as much as I need to. I follow up when I see people, when I've written down a date next to them and it's come to that date, I'll follow up. If I miss the date, I acknowledge that I missed it. I say, hey, I told you I was going to get back in contact with you on the 15th. It's now the 20th. What's up, girl? I don't ever really stop following up unless somebody says, this isn't for me. Thank you so much, but I will never be ready. And then I kind of say, okay, see you in 6 months. Because that's how it happens, right? So I don't ever feel like I'm being annoying or I shouldn't be messaging someone, because I have something really, really, really great to offer people. This business has changed my life in more ways than one. I feel like I have something really great to offer people, and I'm robbing them of their chance to have this awesome life if I don't keep messaging them. Sometimes it takes people a little while to see a miracle, right? So For example, when I first thought about signing up, I messaged my coach, and then I didn't sign up for a couple months because it took me a while to see that it wasn't a scam. It took me a while to see because my old life had formed me into a certain type of person. So I needed that time to consistently follow her, see that she was real, talk to her, work out my objections, and then finally sign up when I was ready. So don't ever rob somebody of this chance. You guys, you wouldn't be on this call right now if you didn't find value in your life, if you didn't love the products, if you didn't see it reflected for other people and yourself. So keep that in the front of your mind when you followed up for the third time and you're like, maybe I should take this person off my list, because you shouldn't. They should always be on your list. Everyone can benefit from Beachbody coaching, and I am really confident in that. Also, doing your PD before you reach out really helps. Another thing that's really great is when you add value in between messages. So, for example, if I was talking to somebody about the 21-day fix, and they said to me, you know what, I just cannot give up soda. It is my one vice. I maybe will do 21-day fix down the road when I feel like I'm stronger, blah, blah, blah. What I would do in between my initial message when she said no, and then a couple weeks down the line when I'm going to follow up with her, I would send her a little message and be like, hey girl, I found this sparkling water and I immediately thought of you. And how I remember those things is on that second list, on my follow-up list, I'll write little notes like that. Like I'll say, oh, you know, couldn't join because son's birthday is next week and wants to eat a lot of chocolate cake. Or like the soda thing, I'll write that next to their name. So I'll reach out and I'll be like, hey girl, found this sparkling water, instantly thought of you. I think it would be great to help you kick your soda habit. What that does is a couple things, right? It lets that person know that you care about them. They're not just a sale. You're not just looking to get some points. You're looking to actually help them. You're looking to actually add value in their lives. And then they start to think about it more and they think, okay, you know, she's a real person. She cares about me. She took the time to go out of her way and send that to me, so she cares. Just a few examples. Hey, Christy, thought of you today during our new coach training group. I really think it's time for you to make the leap. Hearing all these stories that are so similar to you, you will never know until you take the leap. Sometimes all people need is a little vote of confidence like that. I truly believe that every person I reach out to can benefit from coaching in some way, shape, or form. So I try to think about their story. I take a couple seconds to go back to their Facebook, and then I re-message them with a little encouragement, a little adding a value, and 9 times out of 10, they come back around and they say, you know what, you're right. Thank you so much for that message. Even if it's not with coaching, they always say thank you for that message. And that's just a nice thing, you know, to do as a person, let alone a Beachbody coach. Okay. Number 4, confidence, confidence, confidence. So I know this is like the hardest part, right? Everyone's like, well, I don't know can you help me with this conversation? I don't know if I said this right, or I don't know if, you know, I'm actually explaining it, and this person wants to know about coaching, but I don't even know anything about coaching. What you need to do is take a deep breath. I want everybody to take a deep breath. Deep breath. You know so much more than anybody you are talking to. Even if you've been a coach for 2 days, okay? 2 days. You know so much more. Google knows so much more. If you don't know it, Google it, okay? I want you to go into every conversation with the feeling that I am a coach. I know more than this person who is not a coach. And what I have to offer is so awesome. So if I reached out to you guys and I said, you know, like coaching is kind of cool. It's sort of fun. And, you know, sometimes I sort of make money and maybe it'll be successful. You want to join me? Nobody would be on this call right now, right? So, but if I reached out to you and I said, I know without a shadow of a doubt this can be successful for you if you do the work. I know that this company and this business has changed my life. Join me. You know, I don't know everything. I'm not the most successful coach, but I do know that I can add value to you, and I do know that this company can add value to you. So how do we get that way, right? How do we kind of like go out of our comfort zones and speak with that confidence from within? Personal development, I've become the personal development monster. I read it before I respond to all of my messages because it just fills me up with so much hope and so much strength to answer these things with, right? And just know that if you don't say everything right, that's okay. I cannot tell you guys how many mistakes I've made, how many messages or posts I look back on and I'm like, why did I say that? That's all part of the process. Be confident in the fact that you're learning. The more people you talk to, the more mistakes you make, the more successful you'll be. Every single conversation you have, which you fail in, will make you a better coach. It has for me. The times that I've failed have helped me way more than the times that I'm successful. The easy conversations where people just agree and all of a sudden want to be a coach, they don't teach me anything. But the conversations where I say the wrong thing, or I don't respond in enough time, or I fumble over my words, those are the things that teach me. Another thing that really helps is talking to yourself. You guys are going to think I'm freaking nuts, but I talk to myself about coaching, about objections that I get. I talk to my dogs all day long. They probably think I'm crazy. But it helps me get it out of my body and get it into the air, and it sounds more natural. And I feel like me. I feel like when somebody asks me that, then I can just talk like me. I can just talk the way I usually talk. And I'm not thinking in my head all of these details. And then, secondly, be honest with yourself and be honest with them. So if somebody asks you a question about a workout, it's okay to say, I'm not sure, let me check that. Or, I've only been a coach for this long, but I'm figuring it out. And I'd like to have somebody join me like you. So want to join me? Sometimes it really helps to just be honest. Remember, when you're talking to people, it's people over points, right? So yes, it's a point system. Yes, it's measurable. Yes, it's 5 or 10. But those points are connected with people's lives. Those points are connected with a challenger who could possibly lower their cholesterol, possibly a coach who can get out of debt like me, a coach who can experience freedom for the first time in our lives, and you can give that to people. I will tell you that the best feeling that comes from coaching, and I'm sure your coaches will tell you too, is seeing a coach succeed who you help sign up. It is like the bestest feeling in the entire world, I tell you. So when you talk to people, think about that. Think about a person who messaged you and said, thank you for letting me join your challenge. I've lost 10 pounds, or I've gained my confidence back. Or if you don't have that yet, look in your team page and see how wonderful those people's lives are affected. And when you're aiming for those points, try to say to yourself, okay, if I'm aiming for 10, you know what? I'm aiming to help those 5 people. I'm aiming to have those 5 messages at the end of the month that say, thank you for helping me join your challenge. And then I touched a little bit on this in the beginning, but never ever leave a conversation on a bad note, right? Because I think that's one of the things that really, really, really separates Beachbody from other network marketing companies, is that our whole thing is get healthy, get happy, stay fit, but also hold yourself with really high integrity, right? So if somebody talks to you about a different company, or somebody says, oh, don't talk to me about Beachbody, I hate that, or Shakeology's stupid, or whatever they say, I want you to take a deep breath and remember that you are only as good as the worst thing that you say. So you are only as good as the worst conversation you have. This happened to me yesterday, and I actually made a status about it, but somebody told me that, they were just sick of seeing all this Beachbody stuff and they didn't want to hear about it anymore. And all I wanted to do was say, you know what, fine, go away. But I said, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I feel really passionate about this, and it's helped change hundreds of lives in this ripple effect. So I wish you well, and I'll say a prayer for you. Bless and release it. Always make sure you leave a conversation on a great note. I had a friend in the beginning who didn't like the whole Beachbody thing, and she got really negative about it, and she sent me a couple really bad messages just because she was insecure about herself, because that's usually how it works. But a couple weeks ago, and I was very nice to her the whole time. I said, you know what, that's okay. It's not for you, and that's great, but it is for me, and I'm going to keep going. A couple weeks ago, she sent me a message that said, hey, I sent a few people your way. You know, Beachbody might not be for me, but I know a few people who are looking to lose weight and get healthy, and you're the only person I know who left everything on a great note. You were never mean to me when I was kind of rude to you, so I apologize for that, and I sent you a few customers. So always make sure that you leave everything with a great taste in people's mouths, because the next time they think about Beachbody or the next time they think about you, they'll have a smile on their face, right? The worst thing they can say is that you left a conversation on a great note. Okay, so when you guys are building a team, or when you guys are we're trying to build our own empires, right? Our own dynasties. So you kind of have to have this top-down mentality, because it would be kind of weird if I was on the call with you guys right now and saying to you, hit Success Club. If I didn't hit Success Club, that'd be weird, right? It wouldn't be filled with integrity. It wouldn't be, leading by example. So a cool and weird and strange thing starts to happen in your business. You will start to attract exactly what you are. Challengers, coaches, whatever. They will start to mold to your strengths and your weaknesses. So what you want to do is identify those things really early on in your business. Write down a whole list of everything you're really strong at, and then a whole list of everything you're kind of weak at. And then what you want to do is work on those weaknesses, number one, and know that your team will follow along those two lists almost exactly. So whatever is happening at the top of an organization will eventually trickle down the entire thing. So the reason we follow Carl so blindly is because we believe in him. We've seen that he has integrity. We love the things that, not just that he says, but that he does, right? So his actions match his speech. We want to be that for our teams. So instead of saying, I want to attract a really good coach, and I want to attract somebody who hits Success Club, and I want all my coaches to respond in all my training, my challengers to comment every day in the challenge groups. Instead of saying that, what you should say is, am I doing those things? So if I have a challenge group or a new coach training, or even in my team page, and people aren't responding, what I do is I take a step back and I say, okay, am I responding? Am I giving them, am I going 100%? Or am I kind of putting it on them and saying, oh, I wish I had coaches like this, and not trying to be that coach? So what does that mean? It means before you can say, you do this and you do that, you have to kind of do a gut check and say, okay, am I doing these things? So I kind of go by these couple questions. I say, am I consistently adding value? So am I telling my coaches to post 3 to 5 times per day and I'm not doing it? Am I telling them to do a challenge group invite and I'm not doing it? Am I posting being the kind of challenger coach that I wish to attract? I heard somebody the other day that said they want to attract a Matway, or attract a Lindsay Matway. And my first thought was, you should be wanting to be a Lindsay Matway, not saying, I hope I get a Lindsay Matway, and so on and so on. So ultimately, we get people that are sort of leaners instead of leaders. I want you guys to kind of put on yourself, which is kind of hard to do in the beginning, and say, I'm going to be a leader, and I'm going to be that coach I wish to attract, because ultimately, as you progress and reach more people and expand your market, it's really hard for us to identify our own weaknesses, but that can be the key to opening up and expanding your business, because the second you identify a weakness and work on it, you're only that much stronger. But it is a really big ego check, right? So me, I am terrible at schedules and organization. I'm just terrible. But instead of just saying, oh, well, I'm just bad at that, I'll get some coaches who are good at it, every day I try to make a little bit more of an effort to make that better. Because ultimately, I want coaches who are good at that, right? And then, am I hitting Success Club every month? If so, am I making it easy for my team to do the same? So a lot of times, and I did this for such a long time in my business, I would hit Success Club, and then I would look at everybody else and be like, why aren't you doing it? It's easy. You just do it. So if you, for example, are on YouTube and you see a video, share it with other people. If you are having a conversation and you had a challenger sign up because of a really good answer to an objection, share that answer to that objection. Share that conversation. In like the regular workplace, it's funny because it's very different than Beachbody. When I worked in New York City, it's very much like, well, if that person gets the promotion, then I don't get the promotion. And if Stacy does well, then Bonnie doesn't do well. It's not like that in Beachbody. You want everybody to do just as well as you're doing. So you want to share those things. And ask for it too. If you're a newer coach on this call and you're like, gosh, you just don't know where to start, ask somebody. Get a success partner. Get in your team page and start commenting. Have a presence there, make relationships, because ultimately everybody will help everybody. Okay, and then translating your process for your team to duplicate. So this is a little bit what I just talked about. I want everybody to start having that river versus reservoir mentality, right? So we all kind of have this flow that goes along each other, just like we're all on this call. So there's a couple coaches from different teams on this call, and we all help each other. We all get on each other's team calls. So we share everything that we're doing. All of the stuff that I do is never going to stop working for me. That's kind of not how it works. So you want to share those things with your team and make it like a river mentality. Like you want your team to be doing really well. So a couple ways to make it easier for your team to hit Success Club: offer rewards on top of what Beachbody offers. But when you're doing that, make sure you're respectful to yourself. So if you're like, don't offer everybody a $500 necklace or a trip to Colorado, maybe offer a book, or even, sometimes just a nice card works really well. Find out your coaches or your teams or your challengers' love language. So if you are having challenges that, people aren't finishing, they kind of fall off on day 15, try to talk to those people offline a little bit and find out what their love language is, and find out if sending them a nice card would motivate them, or posting something on their wall would motivate them. It's all about finding out people's personalities, finding out what kind of pushes them to succeed, and then kind of pushing that along down the train, right? And then another thing that will help, highlighting Success Club recognition, kind of like I said in the beginning. So if you're a newer coach and looking for something to post about, highlight that. Be like, oh yeah, my team's doing awesome. We're all hitting Success Club and we're helping people change their lives, and just sharing those little tidbits of information. Make it a team effort. Okay, so kind of like what I was just talking about, make it a team thing. Look at your points collectively and try to shoot for a bigger number. Maybe if last month the team did 10 points, shoot for 15 points and shoot for changing 7 lives instead of 5. That way it's more of a collective thing, right? More of a group thing, because ultimately that's one of the best parts about Beachbody. We all get to be part of a team. We all get to be a part of this supportive network, and try to keep that theme going throughout your business. And then lastly, remember to be a coach, not a cheerleader. And I know we say this all the time, but this is true in our challenge groups, as a coach, and generally as a Beachbody coach in general, because people come to you and they want support, they want help, right? In the beginning of my business, when I was first running challenge groups and I was so scared to say what I was thinking, if a challenger would come to me and be like, oh my gosh, I just ate 10 cookies and completely fell off my diet. In the beginning, I'd be like, oh, it's cool. You'll work it off next week. No, that's not why somebody came to me. That's not why somebody wanted to do a challenge with me. Don't be afraid to say to somebody, this is what you need to do, and give them a little tough love, right? Give them that support, that accountability that they're looking for. And the same goes as for yourself. So don't be a cheerleader for yourself. I used to do that too. I used to say, oh, I worked a long day. I don't need to answer those messages. I need to reward myself right now. You know, in this business and in life, mediocrity is the norm. If you're striving to be something great, if you're striving to be whatever your goal is, you're striving to hit a financial goal, to help a certain amount of people, to be a certain rank, at the end of the day, when nobody's watching, you need to be your own coach. And you need to say, okay, I have these goals, and you need to weigh it with the time that you're putting in. So are the sacrifices I'm making now really contributing to my ultimate goal? Is my goal too big for the sacrifices that I can make, and vice versa? And that is the hardest part of this business, right? Because we're our own bosses. You know, I'm a mentor to my coaches, not a boss. So I'm not in your house every day telling you to push play and telling you to do your power hour and read your personal development. So you have to do that gut check for yourself at the end of the day and say, did I make the sacrifices now so that I can live the way I want to later? And that's the biggest part of this company, whether it be your coaches, your challengers, or yourself, really. Okay, that is all I have for tonight. If you guys have questions, you can post them below and I'll answer them. You're welcome. What kind of rewards do you use in your challenge groups? So there's a couple point systems. Like, I don't know if every team runs challenge groups the same way, but there's a couple fun point systems that you can do. Like, every post that you comment on or do every assignment, you get a point. Or and then I add all the points up at the end. And then in the beginning, I did stuff that was really respectful to me because I was broke in the beginning, like broke. So if I had an extra DVD that came in like my 21-day fix, I would send that. Or if I had something at my house that pertained to fitness, I would send that. So I got pretty crafty in the beginning. Like, I remember my husband had a pack of these resistance bands. You guys know what I'm talking about, like these, but they were brand new and in the package, and I sent that to one of my challengers who won the little point system. You kind of just have to have like something that you can afford to do until your business starts rolling, and know that anything that people get in the mail from you is just going to solidify, you know, everything that you are, and just really make them happy. It doesn't have to be anything grand. How far do you go to help your team hit Success Club when you've already hit it? What are some ways to help? That's a really good question. So in the beginning, it's really best to just help everybody hit Success Club. So I will post like, you know, what are you having trouble with? Let me help you, and have people post their conversations, and I'll literally help them answer, or help them, like maybe give them an example of what I would say in that situation, you know, so that they don't have to say exactly what I'm saying, but something along those lines to give them a starting ground. Another thing that we do really well on our team is the file section in our team page is full of example conversations. So I'll oftentimes just direct them there and say, hey, this is kind of similar to what you were saying. Read through this to see how some other people answer it. Examples are the best thing, even for me. So a lot of times I still get objections and I'm like, I don't know what to say. So I will go to the file section and look at what somebody else has said before, and it really helps me. Yeah, going to their Facebook pages, especially newer coaches, or if you're a newer coach, asking your coach to go to your Facebook page and really check out and see, you know, if I went to your Facebook page right now, like, would I know that you're a Beachbody coach? Would I know that you have a challenge group for me to go to? Would I know what happens in those challenge groups? Would I know that you offer Shakeology, that you drink it? You know, would I know that you offer a coaching opportunity? Would I know that you make money from home doing it? So you kind of have to check yourself and your coaches and make sure that you're making it easy for people, right? So you're making it easy for people to know that you run a challenge group for them to go into. One of my coaches asked Helen, I went diamond in 82 days. Do you have any tips on being a success partner? What's a Success Club pod? A Success Club pod is, so success partners work really well, right? Like, I have 4 or 5 success partners, and we kind of have a little group that we go into, and we can message each other objections that we're getting or ideas that we have, or saying, do you think this is good, or do you think this will work, do you think this won't work, etc. So what I did was I started grouping people in little groups, and you can use those little messages to help each other. So it's kind of like a month-long Success Club partner type thing. So, you know, coaches can feel like they can say things in there that maybe they don't feel super comfortable saying in the larger team page, or maybe, you know, they feel uncomfortable saying that they don't know what to say to that. So they can say it in those little messages, and it helps people have way more confidence. Yes, Jen, you're in a Success Club pod. If you are helping your coaches and giving them resources to rank advanced SC and they are not doing it, how much time do you continue to work on them to hit those goals? Good question, Ashley. So what I will say is that everybody's business is different. I am just super confident on that, which is everything that I had. At the end of the day, you know, you are not responsible for other people's success. So you have to kind of take a look at your process, at your onboarding process, and say, okay, I've given my coaches everything they need and everything that I had access to. Now, you know, the rest is up to them. Of course, be there, but don't sell yourself short. You know, if you're going to go 100%, you have to make sure that those other coaches are going 100% too. It can't be a 100%, 50% kind of relationship. So just kind of let yourself off the hook and know that you've given them everything that they have. And, you know, nobody's success is dependent on their upline. So just kind of breathe a sigh of relief and say, okay. And also, everybody's story is very different, right? So my success is different than somebody who has 3 kids and works a full-time job. So I don't have children, and I don't work anymore because I'm full-time Beachbody. So obviously, there's going to be some sort of flux. So you kind of have to look at people's home lives, where they come from, kind of like, you know, what's going on behind the scenes, and know that you're giving them everything, but it might take somebody else more time, and they might have a different journey than you. Does that make sense? How do you get people to continue on Shakeology? I get a lot of money objections. Yeah, girl, everybody gets money objections. If we didn't get those, I mean, let's be honest, in the beginning, you know, I had a money objection. I was like, whoa, $100 a month for a shake? But it wasn't until I started consistently adding the value of that shake on my social media that people started being consistent. So the most important part for new customers on Shakeology is that first 10 to 15 day window, because in that first 10 to 15 day window, they make up their minds. They either love it or they could do without it. So in your challenge groups, the first 10 to 15 days is the most important. So I make sure I talk about it. I make sure I post about it a bunch. I make sure they know that, you know, it's a superfood shake, not a protein shake, not a competitor shake, that, you know, I make little posts about how much it adds value to my life, saves time, gives me energy, stuff like that. So ultimately, consistency, I think, for me. Has anyone ever tried partnering with a rep that is... I think that's a really bad idea. We try not to put any kind of emphasis on other companies. You know, we obviously don't want to put any of them down, but we kind of just want to keep it very, you know, they offer something completely different than we do, and kind of marrying the two wouldn't be a good idea. Does anybody else have any questions? It's really strange to not hear anybody else. I'm just like talking to myself over here. It's really quiet here. You're welcome. All right, well, if nobody else has any other questions, I will let you guys go. Thank you so much to everybody who got on. Oh my gosh, you guys, my call with Carl, I made an epic mistake. It's on 421, not 321. So silly. Anyway, all of the different teams, and I hope that this added some value to your business and to you, and helped you kind of think of some new ways and some new systems to implement. But other than that, I hope you guys have a good night. I'll put some tunes on.